Okay, now that we've cleaned this up on the outside and completely on the inside from stem to stern, the first piece that's going to go in here is this keelson. Okay, and I've already cleaned it up on the top, and I've cleaned out the notches, and it's going to go into this hole right down here, just like this. But the problem is, how do you clamp this? Because we can't get a C-clamp big enough to go all the way around here and all the way to the bottom to hold this in. So let me show you one of the clamps I'm going to use, or actually make, and then you can go ahead and put the rest of them in. Okay, let's zoom into the work table. Alright, you're going to put glue in each one of these notches, okay? And then once you have the glue in the notch, you're going to set it in place. Then I'm going to use a hook, which I can't find. Oh man, I gotta go get one. Okay, we're going to use this hook right here. So, and sometimes you really don't want a fast setting glue, because by the time I position this and use my rubber band clamps, if I used epoxy, the epoxy would probably set up before I was able to get this in position and clamp down. So that's why I'm using, what am I using? I'm using tight bond glue here, and it's not going to set up that quickly. Okay, so I'm just going to go down here and get glue in all of these notches, and I've got one more to go here. Okay, now I'm not too concerned really how much glue I'm putting in here, because it'll probably ooze out, but this is buried so deep down into the hull, I don't think it's going to matter. And anything that does ooze out that I see, I could easily clean up. Alright, now here we go. Let's get it in the right way. And I'm going to set it in place, not pushing down on it. There it is. It just set it in there. I heard it snap down with the into the notches. Okay, like we did before, let's zoom in. And let's try to keep things in frame. Okay, I'm going to push my little hook through here. And grab it. See, I've grabbed it. But before I do that, I do want to push my rubber band through and do the old stick thing. Okay, now let's zoom out. I'm too close. Okay, there it is. Let's bring that around to the bottom. Now I'm looking on the inside. I'm going to use my little hook again, come up through my frame, grab my rubber band like so, pull it through. Beauty. Okay, hold it. Once again, come through my frames with my hook, grab it, pull it through, and one more time. And you got to use little rubber bands like these. Okay, like this one here. Otherwise you're going to be pulling this through and through, you know, 4 or 5 times. Okay, let me see. I grabbed it and I'm going to pull it through. That was my last time. This time, what I'm doing here, let's turn this thing, is I'm going to lift up my little piece of wood and put that rubber band around it. Alright, now the old twist. Twisting it, twisting it, twisting it, and set it down along the keel so it doesn't unwind itself. You know, it doesn't want to stay. I'm going to have to kind of play with it here. See, it wants to spin around. So, oh, it stayed. Alright. There it is. Got it. Ooh, and that thing is tight. Very good. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the other ones in. Same deal. Alright. Short rubber band. And I'm going to put this, I need a stick. I got lots of sticks from this stuff here. Okay, let's break another one out. Okay, got my stick. I'm going to set my stick like so and push my rubber band down through the frames just like this. So when I come up to the inside, here's my rubber band, so I'm going to pull that rubber band and I'm going to push it through the frames again. But this time I'm going to use my little hook. Push my hook in the frame so I can grab this rubber band and pull it out. Okay, and then it's the old wrap it around several times. I'm going to hold this. And once again, up through the frame with my hook. Grab it and pull it on through. Got it. Up with my frame, up with my hook. Now let me see. Hooked it. See how I hooked it? Okay. Pull it through. This time, I'm going to spread it out. Get my finger in there. And get my piece of wood in there. And the old twist. And hold it against the side of the keel. Oh, when it unraveled. Okay, let's do it again. Okay, it stayed. Now, see, number 2 is in place. And you see here, that fits so tight, it's oozing the glue out along the edges. So that's why I know it's making contact and it's hitting. And it's tight. Okay, let me get the other ones in place here. Let me shut off. You don't want to watch this. Okay, my keelson is in place and securely clamped with a clamp here, clamp here, clamp here, and a clamp here. So twist it on this side. So now let's just leave this set up and we're going to move on to our next piece. Now for the next phase of the build of the caustic. What I did was I cut 4 blocks and each one is exactly the same height. And I stuck one under each corner of my jig. Okay, Now my jig, the bottom of the keel here, is setting flat on my glass tabletop, and it's nice and sturdy in this direction, nice and sturdy in this direction. Now the reason I've done this is because I have to make measurements from the bottom of my keel, which is my tabletop, along this hull, and I got to make little marks all along here. Okay, and that is so I could put my deck clamp right along this edge. So to get these measurements, the first thing I have to do is go over to the computer. Okay, what we're looking at here is a cross section of the gunboat, and what we want is this timber right here, okay, which is setting right under this deck beam. So we need this point right here, and that point has to go from here down to this blue line, which is actually the top of our glass tabletop. So we get this dimension from the profile view, and let's take a look at that. Okay, here we are at the profile drawing of the hull. Now let's zoom in here and take a little look. Okay, up here, this red line, that's the underside of the deck at the center of the hull, and the blue line under it, that's the underside of the deck at the side of the hull. So what we're going to do is we're going to take measurements from the underside of the deck at the side of the hull, which is actually frame 3 here, and take a measurement. And it is down to the bottom of the keel, a 1.4. Okay, then we'll skip these two and let's go to frame 9, and we'll take a measurement at frame 9 from underside of deck at the side of the hull down to the bottom of the keel, and it is a 1.45. Then we're going to move on down the hull here, and finally let's see what it is back here at the stern. Okay, and it is a 1.67. So we're going to take each one of those measurements along each one of these at each one of these frames: 3, 9, 15, 20, 24, and at the end here at the stern, and we're going to take those dimensions now and mark them on the side of our hull. Let's go back to the model now and mark our points. Okay, the next part of this operation here is to take this deck clamp, and what it does is it goes alongside the hull, okay, like this, and my deck beams sit on top of this like a ledge, and the top of this deck clamp is right here. Okay, see, here's frame number 12, and it's 1.252 up from this surface. Alright, now what I can do is I can go in here with a ruler, you know, like this, and make a mark along the inside of my frame. But this ruler is kind of difficult to get measurements, because if you take a look here, see, my measurements are 1.465, 369. They're really these odd decimal numbers, so it would be much easier if I could take a set of calipers like this and just set it 1.252, and that's the mark I need on frame number 12. The problem is I can't get in there with a set of calipers to mark them. There's no way in there, and I can't do it from the inside because I have to get all the way down between the frames and onto the surface. So that's the fun part about building these models. You have to kind of figure out what you're going to do. And so what I did was I took this piece of cardboard here, this priority mailbox, and what I did was I cut a strip off of it like this. Okay, now that strip is exactly 1.252. Then I took the strip and I cut a little notch in it. And I could take this notch now and I could put this notch right over the keel, and lo and behold, what I have is this nice little ledge. Okay, so what I'm going to do is every third frame I'm going to cut myself a strip to these dimensions right here, and then I'm going to set them in between the frames. So when I do that, what I can do next is I can take my deck clamp and I can lay it right on these little bulkhead things that I made. Okay, and then between the bulkheads I'll clamp the deck clamp to the sides. And this also gives me the exact distance on both sides, here and here, because my whole hull is sitting on these blocks, which making this very sturdy. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and cut all of these little bulkheads. What I did was I made all of these bulkheads all along here. Okay, and I took this height from all of these dimensions that I got off the plans. And then what you do is you take the deck clamp and you can set it on these bulkheads and then clamp it to the sides. But what I realized when I was doing this was these dimensions right here, these are to the top of the deck clamp. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to measure this deck clamp right here and cut each one of these bulkheads down the width of this deck clamp. So I'm going to now do that.